Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Sacred Travel Podcast. I am welcoming Priscilla Campos from the Temples of Atlantis today to speak about the Lemurian frequencies of Vancouver Island. Welcome, Priscilla.
Blessings. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to see you, and blessings to everybody that's listening. Wonderful to connect with you.
Oh, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you. Let me just briefly introduce you so that all of our listeners know a little bit more about you. Priscilla is an Atlantean high priestess of healing, golden light, and oracular vision, with strong ties to Atlantis, Egypt, Greece, and all things galactic. Her love of ancient civilizations and their wisdoms and magics has opened the gateway to understand the bridge between them and the great star nations of our universe. She is a teacher of all things Atlantean and seeks to restore the enduring love, light, and wisdom of Golden Atlantis. Hmm.
Makes me so happy to hear. Oh,
It's
I
a
am in
it's
love
a
with
good
Atlantis.
reminder. Go ahead.
I said I am in love with Atlantis. It's not a secret. So I love how many times my bio mentions it. Makes me really
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good reminder at these days, I find. And I want to start right away because when we think of Atlantis and Lemuria, and you even also mention it in your bio, like we think of Egypt, Greece, maybe even Hawaii, but not necessarily Vancouver Island.
Mm.
So how did that come to be?
Let's go a little bit into the history of Lemuria, because I know that you probably have tons of Lemurians that follow you and are your clients, because Lemurians make up a good 50% of our current population, is my belief. Atlanteans make up the other 50%. So Lemuria's history is around 4.5 million years ago, is when it starts. And then it survives, I would say, in that one form till at least about 60,000 years ago. And Lemuria is the opposite of Atlantis, but it's also the motherland. So Lemuria is located in the Pacific Ocean, and it's a beautiful, beautiful island continent. Um, in my vision, something similar to Australia, but probably not quite as big as Australia. So it means that its influence then is everything that the Pacific Ocean touches, which in this case is going to be the west coast of present Canada, the USA, Mexico, the west
Hmm.
coast of South America. It's going to connect to Australia, New Zealand, and then all of Southeast Asia. And if we think about people that have souls that are drawn to any of those areas, in particular Hawaii, it's because you have that deep connection to Lemuria. The opposite being Atlantis and the Atlantic Ocean. Everywhere the Atlantic Ocean touches, there's going to be this influence heavily of Atlantis. So, one of my favorite things about North America and South America is they actually have the frequencies of both on different shores. But if we think about
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's really beautiful. If you think about Central America, because Central America is quite thin, and they have both oceans on the sides, then this is actually the marriage of Atlantean and Lemurian wisdom, which we come into then the Mayan culture. So I like to talk about the Mayans a lot from the Atlantean perspective because that's what I know the most, but it's just as easily from the Lemurian perspective as well. There's so much beautiful merging there. So for anyone that's traveled to those areas, like when I go to the west coast. I go to near Puerto Vallarta and Bucerias, which is the west coast of Mexico. And every time I go and I go to ground and I go to heal, I encounter Lemurians all the time. And I'm like, oh, there's so much Lemurian energy. So then if we follow the coastline up, the most Lemurian area of Canada is actually Vancouver Island. And
Hmm.
it is a very, very special place. It's a temperate rainforest. It's full of ancient cedars, minimum 1,000 years old. They're commanding, they're wise. Sometimes they're a little bit cranky, those tree spirits that live there, um, because they don't like what's happened. They don't like,
Yeah.
in particular, the Canadian government, for whatever reason, has decided to cut down a lot of these incredible, like 2,000-year-old trees. Who would do that
Hmm.
and log them? So there's this tension there, but it is a very wild and beautiful island. It's not tropical like say Hawaii is, because of course it's in Canada, but it is astounding. And for reference, I live 14 hours east of Vancouver Island. So I live in the second province over, and they're actually having spring right now. Okay. That means that everything's in full bloom. People are wearing their rain gear. Here for me, I'll probably have snow in about 3 or 4 more days. I'll have snow again. So it's a very different climate. Um, and the island itself attracts a different frequency of being. It attracts people that really want to care for Gaia, that are very eco-conscious. Um, island people, at least what I call island people in Canada, they kayak, they boat, they sail, they hike, they camp, like they do all these things. So the Lemurian energy, for anyone that really has a strong pull to Lemuria, it's incredibly grounding there and incredibly healing.
That makes a lot of sense in the way that you explain it, and thank you so much for touching on that because it's a concept that I haven't heard of so far, and it really makes sense to me about the oceans and like where the landmass touches which
Mhm.
of the oceans and what is the frequencies that are being brought forward.
Yeah.
So you went a little bit into that. Tell us, how do Lemurian frequencies feel? How did you experience them?
Lemuria to me, and I do a lot of Akashic Records readings, what I notice with souls that come to Earth, you will always come to Lemuria first, because Lemuria is the grounding frequency of our goddess, who is Gaia.
Mm,
So if you're going to come and devote yourself to this realm, for 300,000, 5 million, a billion years, the thing you have to know the most is who your mother is. And so
yeah.
Lemuria, as it's called, the motherland, when you come to Lemuria, you understand, number one, the frequency, which means you understand her heartbeat. You understand how to create with her, how to love her, how to receive from her. And most people, like I said, that I read for, they're always going to come into this beautiful peace space of love, of really like an instant manifestation, but it's never a taking kind of energy. And Lemurians, they're very, very heart centered. And the people that are Lemurians now, right, that have that really strong connection, they're very heart centered and they're very loving. And most of them will be drawn to something more of the shamanic type of teachings. They're going to be more connected to indigenous cultures, to drumming, to natural food sources. And like that is the frequency. It's like this most beautiful, simple love. And then, later on when the Lemurians, they want to try something else, they end up evolving into Atlantis. And Atlantis takes that
Mm,
frequency and has that groundedness of Earth, but now it really connects it to the galactics. And it's like about universal wisdom versus just Earth wisdom. And it's like, how can we get these crystals to work in higher ways for us? And so Atlanteans are still heart centered, but more than heart centered, they're crown chakra centered, and that kind of
yeah.
is the difference between those two people. But what I love, and other people have taught about this, is that Lemuria and Atlantis are the original East and West, of our realm. So Eastern philosophy, like Tibetan type of studies, Buddhism, a lot of Hinduism actually comes from Lemuria. And what's the bottom line is like it's peace and unity and like service to God, service to all.
Mm,
Um,
devotion.
yeah. So when you go to Vancouver Island, especially people that have never been, um, man, it's like it's all the elements combined, right? In real tangible ways. Um, and it's like I've gone there before when I've had a lot of arthritis in my knees, and the beaches, by the way, are not like, they're not beautiful sandy soft beaches. No, no, no. These are like rocky beaches. The ocean is really cold. But it's so healing. So I've just gone and laid on a rock beach, and I just
Mm.
sleep on it, and I just allow Gaia to pull that inflammation and that pain from me. And I've had some of the best sleeps, like best naps ever, because they're so deep. And depending how in tune you are with your intuition and say with Gaia, it's almost like you can hear like a drumming, like the vibration of it is a drumming bump, 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 so that you can
Mm.
like, I don't know, it's like a reset. And I was going more often than I am now. I'll be going there for our upcoming retreat, but it happens every time I need that absolute reset and rejuvenation. And so it is, I'd say it's one of the most visited spots in Canada for adventure enthusiasts. And it's very similar to the Americas, to USA in Washington State. We actually share some of those same islands. It's just that they're called different islands based on the countries, but it's that same kind of energy. And there is also incredible whale families there. So you're also getting
Mm. Oh,
whale
wow.
codes, which a brief study on whales is that they're actually galactic beings that right now they're in our realm to help us unlock our ancient codes and our memories. They're very sacred record keepers. When Earth comes to a place of higher frequency through the galactic ocean, they may move off into another realm and really help them. But right now they're here for us. So there's tons of whale watching there. Basically all year round, you can see either humpbacks or orcas in different parts of the island. And it's not a small island either. Probably, geez, I don't know what to compare it to, but it's a big chunk of land. And it's getting very, very popular. A lot of people from Vancouver, from British Columbia and Canada are moving there. And it's definitely getting pricey as things do, but the medicine the medicine is worth it if you're looking for a life that's really connected to earth. It's, I think it's incomparable for what Canada offers anyways.
Mm. Wow. And thank you for speaking to, I can really feel, how the land is talking and speaking and like emanating, vibrating this frequency to everybody that is visiting. Um, Whew. Wow. So can you go a little bit more also in your own experiences if you want to share? So you said that it's about the rocks, it's about the beaches, but also the trees. So what have you experienced and how has the land helped to heal you or maybe open up your heart in a way?
Yeah. I've been visiting Vancouver Island since I was 17. So my family loves road trips, my parents, so I've traveled many times with them there. So it's helped me at different stages of my life, right? So if we think about 17 to say like your mid 20s, at least for me, you're finding yourself. And so
Yeah.
every time I would go there, I would actually get kind of triggered into like annoyance, because at that time I myself wasn't interested in nature too much, right? I'm in
Mm,
like I
mm.
want to go out, I want to be with my friends, I want to go to the
I get
bar.
that.
And my parents were always like, let's camp by the ocean, let's have a fire. And they were inviting me, in actuality, when I look at it, they're inviting me to slow down, right? Because you're in that
Yeah,
pace of like, go, 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 go. And
yeah.
I think I had like 3 jobs, and I would go on vacation with them, and I'd want to do all these things in a nightlife kind of way. So at that time, it was really about Priscilla, like look around, look what's
Mm,
here, because it's also very mountainous. That's what I mean. It has the touches of everything. So that's one stage. As I actually come into like my 30s and through my 40s, it's completely different. Now it's an escape from the city. It's escape from the bombardment of energies that we have in it, living in a city, right? And when you go, there's this one place called Cathedral Grove, that's well protected, but you get to walk through it. And there's a reason why. If you think about a cathedral, the cathedral in the fullest sense, it's not about It's not about church. Cathedral is about, it's about healing, and it's about light, and it's about vibration. And so when you go into Cathedral Grove, it almost takes you away from whatever has been plaguing you, and it
Mm,
brings you back to the truest part of yourself, because you realize,
yeah.
okay, if God and Gaia created these giant cedars, and they're so strong and they're so beautiful, but they also fall over and decompose, and then they grow like four new trees out of it. It just shows you like there's more to life than what we think. So
Yeah.
whatever part is heavy with you, yes, we're going to have these death cycles, but naturally we're going to have the rebirth cycles. And so as you walk through there, and I would encourage someone that goes to walk through silently, right? To just really absorb it. I know we want to take pictures and videos and have our moment, but imagine the first time you go through, because you could go through again, you just absorb it. And some of the trees, I think they've kind of blocked them off, but some of them are, once they fall, they're hollow. And if you step in between, if you go in into the trunk, um, it's absolutely incredible, right? So
Mm,
lots of us that do spiritual work, bless our hearts, um, we so always want to be up, right? We want to be with the angels. We want to be with the star nations. We want to be with the ascended masters. And we get very, very ungrounded. So it's that chance to be like, right, I'm human in this lifetime. Let me
yeah.
feel the part. Let me
Yeah.
connect to the roots. Um, Also on those walkways. And then like I don't even know how many hikes Vancouver Island has. Like I've only been on maybe 10, and they're all very diverse, but the ferns there are like Jurassic Park size. I always feel like it's dinosaur days. And then it's just like moss, and my children, I've taken them there many times. My children are like, they call them moss cities, you know?
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. So then you're actually tuning into the Fey energy and the
Yeah.
Elven energy
Mm.
and those type of elements, the dragon energy. So it's just being there is medicine. Like I said, there's a lot less cell towers around there, so you're just getting like the pureness of it. But it's the combination. You can be going on a hike, and then you come to natural potholes, or you come to a lake, and the water is cold but so pristine. Like
Mm.
in Alberta, because of our weather, we have a lot of algae on our lakes, and it doesn't make for an enjoyable swimming experience. And there it's like purity at its highest, which again is a very Lemurian frequency. So I could see people going there that are struggling with a lot of things, but grief, grief from a breakup, grief from a loss, and also people that just tend to be in the middle of a transition. Like I know a lot of people from Edmonton will be like, I have to go to the island for a couple of weeks. I just have to get out. I'm like, yeah, no doubt, let go. And it's like when they come back, they're always more settled, but it's like their auric field has changed, right? Because you've been in that frequency, hopefully for like a week or two. And even with the different sides of the island, the western side is totally open to the ocean. So again, very wild. Lots of people go surfing there. But then the east side of the ocean is actually facing Vancouver and Canada itself. So it's more of a channel. And
Mhm.
so it's different energy. So if you're only on the east coast of the island, you'll be like, man, where's the ocean? Because it's always like it's more of like a bay.
Mm.
It goes
Yeah,
in
yeah,
and out.
yeah.
But on the other side, last time I was on the other side, it reminded me of Hawaii, not because
Mm.
it was hot and there was palm trees. But if you've ever been to the big island of Hawaii, Kona, and there's like black sand and big black volcanic rocks, that's what it looks like. And so it's just reminding that there's this connection. So if we think about Lemuria as this larger continent that ended up sinking and splitting up, then it's
Yeah.
very possible that at one time Hawaii and Vancouver Island were connected.
We're one landmass. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Whew. Wow, there is a lot already.
Mhm.
I loved how you spoke about this cathedral grove because, many times also we associate sacred sites with, let's say, built structures, whether they are man-made or
Right.
alien-made.
Right.
But there is really these natural places like the potholes that you spoke about, or groves, or the trees that are just always there. And um, yeah, that when you spoke about the trees, I really felt that there is this big embrace, almost like a mantle that comes over oneself for healing, and you just sit in this gigantic tree that, I don't know, might be hollow inside, and you're still like connected to the heavens, and it just,
Yes.
yeah, feels beautiful.
Well, I was thinking before when I was preparing to this morning about our conversation. That's exactly what struck me. In places like Egypt and Greece, beautiful, but you're really going to go see the structures in the temples. But here, it is the temple. Gaia is the temple, and so it's those structures and those other places are built on powerful ley lines, which is wonderful. And of course, I love those places. But this in itself is a ley line, and something to consider is that Vancouver Island is part of a 200 island area. And so it's the biggest island, the main island, but then all around it are these little other islands. And I've been to 6 of them, I want to say, and they're just like a day trip with a ferry. But it is that, like, I'm thinking of this one place that has these sand waves, it's called. And so it's like this kind of like softer rock that's been carved out by the ocean. And that energy is completely different than, the west coast of Vancouver Island. Um, the trees have the same energy, but there's also something called Salt Spring Island. I've done a couple hikes on that, and they're just they have their own unique signature, but at the same time, they're very connected, right? And it's a wonderful place to explore. In fact, while we're having this conversation, my other part of my brain is like, I have to take my kids to I take them there. How can I get them there for that reset? Because we could all use it. But it is one of my favorite things. And the smell of the ocean. My husband, the first time he visited was in 2019. And he immediately wanted us to move. And I could tell we were on the ferry, and I could see the contentment in his face. And he
Mm,
was just really at peace. And I know
wow.
that he would not agree with me, but he is Lemurian. He is so very Lemurian, this man. And all he could say is like, imagine, Priscilla, he's like, I just wake up and I go to the ocean, I go swimming every morning. He's like, imagine how
Yeah.
good that would be. And
Yeah.
we tried to make it a reality. It didn't seem like it wasn't meant for us at this time. Um, but like I said, there's just so much to explore there. Both, like, you could take it at different levels. You can take it at just like the 3D level, and that would be
Yeah.
incredible. You can take it at a 4D level and invite in the fae and the elemental beings. I'm sure there's mer beings there as well to be with you, and that would be another level. And you can take it to a 5D level and just harmonize and come into natural vortexes there, and natural portals. And it is my belief that almost every time there's 2 trees that split off from the same base, they connect as a portal and as a gateway. And so I use those all the time as I'll step through them, and I'll always be like, okay, I'll take a deep breath. What am I ready to leave behind? What no longer serves me? And I say, sometimes I don't even know, right? But universe, please show me. And then I take that breath and I step through, and I believe it's like my new path, where I'm going now. And there's so many places like that. On the retreat I have coming up, we're utilizing the 5 elements, and we're taking different parts um, of the journey to really help our attendees get into sync with Mother Earth. But probably one of my favorite parts will be when we're doing the hike.
Mm.
The hike goes to a place called Mystic Beach. Okay, like,
And that's
and
the name of the place. It's not
that
a
is
name
the
that you've given them.
No, that is the name of the place. I haven't been yet. My partner, who was a former Albertan, but has now lived on Vancouver Island for about, I want to say, 5 years. It's one of her favorite places. So you hike to it, and there's this large black kind of cliff with a beautiful waterfall that comes down on it, of course, on the edge of the ocean. So I can imagine that we're coming through that deep part of Gaia, right? And the ferns and the
Mm.
moss and the trees and the birds and all this kind of different frequency. And then you open up into the ocean and into the water. And then it's like purification,
Yeah.
right? Cleansing,
Yeah.
letting go. Um, a few of the attendees last year went swimming in the ocean. I'm not that brave. It has to be
More
like,
like a cold plunge.
yeah, it is. So that's what the offer is. So you can cold plunge. You guys go ahead. We'll see if Priscilla does that. But uh, I say last year when we went, it was about 22 degrees Celsius, which is a decent day. And I have no idea what the water was. I would guess it was probably about 6 degrees Celsius, maybe 8. And they
Ugh.
were, yeah, but some of them said they never felt so free. It's like they were embodying that mermaid part of them. So
Mm.
to
Yeah.
run a meditation, to do crystal healings with the support of Gaia, I feel like it makes for the most potent activations. As lovely as they are, in a bed and in a room, when Gaia is your assistant in the healing, and we also set up beds in the rainforest, and we have different practitioners offering healings in the rainforest.
Oh, that's magical.
I received one last year, and some of them are sound practitioners, have crystal bowls or gongs. It's like being held in the belly of Gaia and being
Mm.
rocked back and forth. And again, I pick up a lot of dragon energy. So I felt like there was trees that were, standing over me, but there was also dragon energy that was running around me and just clearing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I ended up falling asleep. And again, I had one of the best naps I've ever had. It was incredible.
Hmm. And there is so much. I mean, I am experiencing this too. I feel, when I'm processing a lot, I have to fall into that sort of nap state where I'm not full asleep, but I'm also not full awake. And it's almost like my system is like compressing something and like sorting out and feels like there's a lot of codes running through and then feeling refreshed after. So I can completely relate to what you're saying.
Yeah. Our space this year has hot tubs, which is great, hot tubs and saunas. So I just think we have something called Self-Care Saturday, and every attendee gets to pick 3 slots with 3 different practitioners that vary from fire. I think there's people have fire cupping, acupuncture to Lomi Lomi massage to Mother Gaia facials. I don't know what that is, but I will be getting a Mother Gaia facial. um, and just all these wonderful things. And then at the end of the day, you can, come in the hot tub, and then we have a fire, and then we have drumming circle. So it's like, imagine how much transformation you can go through in those 4 days, because it's kind of like accelerated. You have the energy of Gaia with you, but then you also have people that are really nurturing you and holding the space for you. And as we know, in any kind of retreat or sacred travel that we go on, there's so much about the community that makes it what it is.
Mm.
And I can feel into this container, and about half of them are return attendees, which is a great testimonial to how it ran last year. um, but I can feel how supportive it's going to be. It is open to women and men, but so far we only have one man, and I'm like, come on, males. Like, I don't know why it's always like that for these males, right? There's like a group of 15 women and one man. Like, let's get it more into like the 25-40% kind of thing, until more are ready to step forward. But I don't know. It's probably going to be exactly what I need. It's June 6th and 9th. It's happening right before the summer solstice. So for me, the new year has just begun with the
Yeah,
equinox.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, even April 1st, I was just reading, used to be the actual new year for our realm, which happy new year, everybody. We canceled it, but by the time June comes around, we've settled into the energies. We understand the seeds that we've planted. We're nurturing them in a great way. Now we're ready to take more action. So I think it's going to be that way of really fine tuning things and getting ready for that explosive growth that comes with summer and the solstice.
With the solar codes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So if there's any male listeners out there, I mean, of course, for the females as well, but get in touch with Priscilla and
Yes.
claim your spot for the retreat.
Hmm. Yeah, and we have two properties this year, so it is all private accommodations. Everyone has their own room. It's like 60% sold out, 65% sold out. But there's still some incredible views over cliffs in the forest with your own personal hot tub. I'm like, okay, I don't drink wine. I don't drink any alcohol, but I will have a kombucha. I will go
Yeah.
sit in my private tub out on my deck with the trees hugging me and have some kombucha. So, you know, when our soul, I think, is drawn to somewhere, um, we either really make it happen because we move mountains to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, we find excuses, or it's really not in our alignment. But I've listened very carefully to my soul over many times. And I sometimes when I feel like I had no income to do something, I still made it happen in a really beautiful way. And the universe supported me. So I took my kids to compete in Romania. They're dancers. We compete in Romania. My guides really wanted me to go to Istanbul, and I kept putting them off. I'm like, no, 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 I already went to Greece this year. I'm taking them Romania. That's enough. That's, you know. And then finally, like, Priscilla, look at the map. Just look at the map. I'm like, what? Like the difference between Bucharest and Istanbul is like a 1 hour flight. It was like
Yeah.
$100. It was $100 return. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, not so bad. I'll take it.
Yeah. So it's amazing. If your soul is drawn, please let me know. Of course, I say I'm more Atlantean, but what I would like to say is that when I came to Earth, I trained on Lemuria first. I just didn't become a high priestess of Atlantis and like, woohoo, here I am. Let's roll, Atlanteans. I had to learn about Gaia first, and I had to learn about
Mm,
patience, and I had to learn how to really understand humanoids on this planet. And so I don't say Lemuria is my home, but it is part of my heart. And last year when I was teaching a lot about Atlantis, my husband's soul kept coming up, and they actually showed me how we met was that I was taking basically a vacation from Atlantis and kind of like my queen duties and just like taking off my crown and coming to see my sisters, coming to see my sisters
I
and
love that.
yeah, and just to be me and to be with the land. And I got to Lemuria and I was talking to, you know, a group of my sisters, and I spotted my
Hmm.
husband. And immediately I was like, who is that? And they explained, and I got married with him. I got divorced from my other husband, and I got married to this man within 3 days. Um, and our souls have been together on this planet ever since because he to me he is incarnated here. He's not a galactic being. He literally came here and is a devotee of Lemuria. He's what grounds me every time, right? Because I said
Hmm.
Atlantis is very galactic, and so somebody has to feed the children, you know, somebody has to like
Yes.
walk the I need this help because I'm always riding unicorns and having, you know, dragons. So it's really
Riding the
interesting.
comet.
Yes, but his frequency shows me that. So if your guys' heart has been melting with a talk of Lemurian frequencies, it's your job to go to it. If you can't make it to Vancouver Island, but you live somewhere that's close to Hawaii or South America or Asia or Australia, or you do you know what I mean? Like you need to be in those frequencies to know who you are and to come into alignment. You need your home frequencies. And if you can't make that happen
Hmm.
anytime soon, then Lemurian crystals are an incredible gift for all of us, and they will help you get home when it's time for you. But um, sometimes people are like, no, they just put it out of their mind when they hear these soul calls, you know, no, I can't do that right now. I'm too busy. Universe will help you. Yeah. And sometimes
Gonna
they
come
not,
knocking.
yeah. And sometimes it's not in a pleasant way, right? Sometimes they take things
Yeah.
away from you so that there's no excuses. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. And at the same time, it's so liberating and also heart opening once we listen and
Mhm.
follow the call.
Yes. It's the most beautiful gift we can give to ourselves. I travel as much as possible. It's not as much as I would want, but it is for what I can afford with a family of four or my own solo travels. And I have never regretted spending money on travel. You know, I don't have a massive house. I don't care about any labels. Obviously, I have a penchant for crystals. That is very apparent if you can see. Um, but I will take those experiences every day over, you know, some of the material things that people get caught up in. And it's also influenced my children. But I grew up the same way. We didn't do a lot of air traveling, but we did do an incredible amount of road trips. My parents have traveled a very extensive part of the world, and they've always taught me that that's the way to be. That's the way to learn. That's the way to
Yeah.
grow. And they continue to do so. They're in their mid 70s. So they don't want to go as far as they used to, but they still want to go to Thailand and Bali. And I was like, well, that's Lemuria. Of course you. And my mom
It
loves Australia. She loves Hawaii. She loves Mexico. I'm like, so Lemuria.
And I always feel it's all of what you said is so true. And also, it's these living codes that we collect. Like once we go to the land and there is the resonance that we pick up on, and then they become alive within us and we take them with us wherever we go. And so we can also feed off them no matter where we are, whether we are at home, and also we bring them to all the other places that we go.
That's and sometimes like so when I went to Istanbul and my soul called me there, I didn't have like big aha moments like I did when I was in Greece. It wasn't activation after activation. In fact, I still don't really know why I had to go there, but I did, and so did my children. And so whatever codes were activated, whatever was supposed to help me shed, help me grow, it happened very organically without me
Mm,
pestering it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
um, I think I'm about 4 months now post Egypt, and those codes are still running through me like every week, right? I'm like, oh, that's how that fits in, and just having patience. So, you know, sometimes as spiritual seekers, we are seeking this very grand experience and these visions, and we know we go to these healings and we go to these teepees and we do
Mm,
all these cool things, but sometimes it's just enough for you to be on the land. Take your shoes
mm,
off,
yeah.
breathe, listen to the frequency of that land, and know that part of you has been retrieved or you're giving something to it, and it's going to serve your mission and humanity in the long run. I truly believe that because that's what radiates within me. And that's why I'm drawn to hosting more retreats, probably like yourself, um, to bring people into these special places where they can reconnect to themselves with their ancient soul.
Completely, completely. And I just want to add to that our experiences and also the integration is definitely not linear. So there is a lot that will come in circles and spirals. Yeah.
And buckle up sometimes. Buckle up. I will reiterate that Egypt is not just like, oh, I think I'll go to Egypt. Like, whoa, you're gonna go to Egypt? Okay.
And it's a very physical experience too, right? It's
Mm.
it's different from, so when I compare, and I haven't been to Vancouver Island, but just like tapping into what we've spoken today, I feel that there is places where they're really more grounding and subtle and like very soothing to the nervous system. And then there is places that are like super agitating and like triggering, excuse me, the out of you. So
That's a
yeah.
great way to describe Egypt. I've been describing when people ask me, first of all, in my head, I'm like, for real? You're asking me that? Okay. Number two, it's everything. It's everything you can think of. It's expansive and it's destroying and it's beautiful and it's like ugly. It's so much. But I will say about Vancouver Island, you're just gonna be like, oh, it was so beautiful and grounding and again clearing. You won't have that that complex type of thing. And maybe it's because it's not about human energy and what the humans have built and what they've stored, right? It's literally what you're saying before. It's the codes of Gaia at her purest. You're not going to go look at petroglyphs and ancient writing. Although those exist, you're there purely for the most pure connection to Gaia. And so if everyone actually takes a moment and just closes their eyes, let me just paint you a very small picture.
Oh, yeah,
But
please. Yeah.
you've just come through the most beautiful hike, and the trees have been talking to you, reminding you to slow down, that this is your moment. There's no wrong step on your path. And when you finished through that beautiful hike of this expansive and ancient forest, your view opens up first to the smell of the ocean, and the wind just brushes your hair back, and it reminds you that you are alive, that you are here in this body to experience the best of what being a human has to offer. And as you breathe that in, you feel the warmth of the sun hitting your face with the golden light codes of awakening, of remembrance, of Christ's energy and love. And then after that, you make your way to the ocean, and it's so cold that it almost startles you into understanding that there again is so much more than you thought. And in that moment, you just surrender. You surrender. Maybe it's just your feet and your ankles. Maybe you go to your knees. Maybe you strip everything off and you decide to go for a dip. But it's like this full circle moment of remembering the aliveness of being a human and why we chose to be here and what a gift it is. So just breathing that in. And wherever you are in your life, being grateful for who you are and who you're becoming. Thank you.
Thank you. I have so much energy running through my body right now. I feel like I'm the grass, I'm the water, I'm the wind, I'm the trees. I'm everything. Like I'm nature. Thank you.
And we just
We
forget.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. That was an amazing transmission from the Lemurian frequencies of Vancouver Island.
Thank you. Thank you to Vancouver Island, and thank you to Lemurians that hold that space and care for it very well. If you're drawn, come check it out. It is, I don't think your soul will regret it. And if you're coming from somewhere international, then imagine you start off with like a 4-day retreat with me and my soul sisters, and then you explore the island, or you go explore Salt Spring Island or Gabriola, or there's so many artisans out of that place for any people that love pottery and painting and oracle cards. There's Danielle Noel, who's a very famous and well-known
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she calls one of those islands home. So it's
Oh.
like the energies that come through there are incredible. And I will finish by saying there still is galactic energy. If we don't know, Lemuria is very connected to the Pleiadians. And so the Pleiadians are very heart-centered beings. And I'd say heart healing is going to be one of the biggest medicines that will come from such a trip.
I just love these conversations and giving a voice to these different pieces of land that hold so much energy. And to me, it's also no surprise that especially this Lemurian frequencies are on the rise, and we are being called back into this connection with Gaia and with the heart of Gaia to live in co-creation. So I'm really, really happy that you came and yeah, brought all of this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I will just confirm the dates. It's called the Awakening Lemuria Retreat, the Rising, June 6th through the 9th. You can find information at the Temples of Atlantis.ca, or you can also reach out to me on Instagram at Temples of Atlantis. And I would be happy to honor you and your questions and to invite you into this earth realm with me.
Beautiful. That's going to be so exciting. And we'll also make sure to link all these information in the show notes so people can look it up. Thank you, Priscilla. As always, it's been an honor and such a joy to have you. Thank you for activating our listeners and people who are watching this on YouTube.
Thank you. Blessings, everyone.